To all of you, a Happy New Year first. We want to thank you for your yearly support for our statistic works. And next year, we are going to conduct 2 national surveys. The first one is about the national population surveys and also the demographic features surveys. And according to our routines, we'd like to give you a brief introduction about the economic performance in November, and then I'd like to take up your questions. We have made several different progresses in a stable development economies. With so much turbulence in the economic development, we have fully launched all kinds of efforts centered by the President Xi Jinping's requirements, and we have reformed ourselves in the economic sectors to promote the high-quality development, stabilizing the financial sector, stabilizing the foreign trade sectors. The economic performance is better than our expected, and it is proceeding with all kinds of stabilities. The industry is on the rise with the information technology growing alongside the industry. So in November, the PMI figures is growing by 1.5%. The grossing ratio is equivalent to the average about the numbers between January to October. We find that for the SMEs, the total investment is reaching by 3.2%, while for the foreign invested company is 4.2%. Private sector is seeing a 3.2%. That is 3.9% on average. From all the sectors, the mining sectors grew by 9.8%, manufacturing industry by 7%, electronic industry grew by 8%. High quality management sector is growing by 9%. That is 2.7% and 3.2% faster than our average, among which medical devices and the fine manufacturing of the watches is seeing a 4.6% growth. The PV panel factor and also the integrated circulars is seeing a 20%, 23%, and 27% growth. The total productions are about the automotives is growing by 8%. In the all kinds of the manufacturing sectors, the time for the deliveries, the preparations for the deliveries, and also the index for the manufacturing time is reaching a 50.4, 48.9, and 98.2%. And our economic is achieving a high level of growth. Second, the tertiary sector is seeing a rapid growth. In November, the total growth percentage of the tertiary industry is 8.6%. Information technologies, leasing industry is achieving a 16.8% and 30.5%. That is a 5.2% faster than the average speed. In November, the trade and service is seeing around 3.5%, 2.1% higher than the last month's performance, among which the post delivery system and the day-to-day service sectors is seeing a 7.6%. The tertiary industry is seeing a 6.7%. From January to October, the scale-up economy is accounting for 85%, among which the strategic industry, high-level technologies, is around achieving 8.5% growth. That is 2.3% growth than the average. Third, the total marketing and sales is on the rise. The e-commerce platform is seeing a larger share about the food and average sector. And this is also an 8% growth. If we deducted all the vehicle sectors and accounting for the vast part of the food and service sector, we'll see that there's actually a 8.0% in the food and service sector. The urban area is seeing 8.5%, while the rural area in China is achieving a 5.9%. According to the statistic, the total retail number is reaching 3.3 trillion RMBs. That is 7.8% growth. Consumption is on the rise. Cosmetics, beverage, and telecommunication is seeing a 60.8%, 30.2%, and 12.1%. That is 8.8%, 5.5%, and also 4.0% higher than the average. The e-commerce achieved 5 trillion RMB from January to October, among which the food and beverage is accounted for 4.2%, 4.2 trillion. That is around 68% of the total number. Fourth, there is a very rapid and stable growth of investment. From January to October, the fixed assets investment is achieving 5.4 trillion RMB. That is a 5% growth compared with the last year. Infrastructure is seeing a 5.4%. Real estate developer is achieving a 2.3%. The total sales numbers for the real estate apartment is 120 million square meters. The investment to the first industry is seeing a declining of 12.3%. Second industry increasing by 10%, while the tertiary industry is seeing a 40%. Among which the high-end technology industry and high-end service industry is seeing a 38% growth. And for the social sector, it is faster than the total investment, among which education, culture, and entertainment is achieving a 7%, 8%, and 10% growth. Ecological environment, basic service industry, and is seeing a 33% and 31% growth. Fifth, the total job number is in a stable situation. We have created 220 million jobs across the whole country. We find that in the labor age between 25 years old to 50 years old, the total unemployment ratio is 5.6%. The total employment working time and period is 46.7 hours. That is 5 hours longer than what they were doing last year. Seventh, the import and exports is on the rise, and we should see that an unstable international situation has made a lot of the uncertain sectors. We are under huge downward economic development pressures. For the next phase, we are going to be guided by Secretary General Xi Jinping's general idea, and we are going to fully implement the spirit of the second, third, and fourth plenaries of the 19th National People's Congress. We are also going to achieve a stable economic growth. The reform is going to be driven by green development. And we are also going to build up a modern economic structures with stable structures and fine-tunings of the economic performance. And we are going to keep the economy to be operated in a reasonable range to keep the economy in a high-quality development. Now we are going to enter into the Q&A sessions. We welcome the questions from the floor. With CCTV, from your general introduction, the major index of the November is better than our expectations. What is the reason behind it? What do you make of this data? Thank you very much for the question. In November, after a joint effort of all the whole countries and also all kinds of effective policies, the economy is achieving a very remarkable result. From the major index perspective, we are seeing several different features, including the two speeding up and also two stabilizations and two improvements. The two speeds up. The growth of the industries and the service sectors is speeding up their economic performance. Starting from November, the growth of the industry is seeing a 6.2%. That is 6% higher than the last month. And if we look at all the different sectors, there are 63 different industries seeing a rapid growth. That's around 80% about the total sectors in the country. So that is what we say. The industry price. The second part we want to talk about is about the service price. The PMI in the industry is reaching 8%. That is 6% higher than last month. This is the first speed up. The second speed up is about the better market sales. In November, the total market sales is reaching a 0.8% growth. Among the 18 different categories, 14 of the categories is seeing a rapid growth. That is what we are seeing, that the speeding up of the market is correlated with the rapid growth in the e-commerce platforms. In November, this rapid growth of the social consumptions, the e-commerce platform is achieving a 3.1% better performance compared with last month. So the second feature I have talked about is two stabilization. The first stabilization is about that we have kept a very good job situation. In November, actually from January to November, the total jobs we created is 100 million. That is better than we expected. So we think that for the consecutive 7 years, the job we created is reaching around 30 million. That is very remarkable. For the unemployment ratios, the number is reaching 5.1%, among which the general employment group is between 25 years old to 55 years old. That is our total job situation. The second stabilization is about a stable growth in the foreign trade and the foreign investment. From January to November, the total growth number in the foreign investment sectors is seeing a 5.4%, with major trading partners like the European Union, that is 7.7% growth, ASEAN countries, that is 11.2%, and Middle East countries, that is 30.3% growth. So that is a very stabilized figures. So from the foreign investment sectors, the actual usage of the foreign investment is growing by 8.6%, among which the high-tech sector is reaching a 6.8%. For the third sector, we have two improvements. The first improvement is about we are trying to optimize our economic structure because we have seen the enormous driving powers of the domestic demand. And we think the growth of the domestic market is faster and achieving a better quality than the foreign trade. And we are trying to optimizing our structures from the industry structures. The industries and the high-end industry and the high-end equipment growth is seeing a 8.9% and 8.5% growth. And for the service sector, the modern service industry, like information technologies, software developments, and business and financial leasing, is faster than all the other, and the average index are but the service sectors. The second improvements is being reflected onto the market expectations. In November, the manufacturer PMI index is 11.2%. That is 0.9% higher than last month. And for many months, we see a growth. And for the non-manufacturing, PMI is reaching 14.4%. The service sector is seeing around 30.5%. These are very distinct growth from these different sectors. The economic performance is stabilizing. That is a very good reflection that under the severe international environment, the Chinese economy has a huge resilience and a very huge development space. This is also indicating that Chinese economy is developing amongst all the stabilizing sector. So we are also seeing the global economy is in a very sluggish development. There are so many uncertainties for the global economic development. We are at the middle of a shifting and transition period to change the economic drive. So this is also a critical period for the economic growth. Actually, the structure problem and the economic challenges do exist. So for the next stage, we are going to fully follow the leadership of CPC Central Committee and do a better job about the economic performance. With Reuters, from the November's data, there is many active change. Is it indicating that at the fourth quarter, it is going to overturn the downward trajectory in the Q1, Q2, and Q3? So how do you see this? What is it indicating? Thank you very much for your question. And I am actually seeing that in the first 3 quarters of this year, the economy is developing in a very rapid, stable situation. And from the performance in November, our total growth ratio might be better than our expectations, but we should see the uncertainties and influencing factors of the economic performance. For our next steps, we are going to fully follow the leadership of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council, and we are going to promote the economy to develop in a stable way. With CRR, my question is about the growth ratios, about numbers. What is the reason for the high-speed growth in the industry sector? Thank you very much for your question. This year, the rapid growth in the industry is also stabilizing, especially for the optimizations of the manufacturing industry. We have seen a clusters of the new economic drives. For the major indicators, we have introduced you that in November, the industry development is speeding up, among which the manufacturing sector is achieving a 6.3%. From the different industries, 80% of the industry is increasing rapidly. This is the first feature. The second feature is about the optimization of economic structure. We have talked about the rapid industry growth. It used to be expansions of the quantity, but right now it's been shifted to the high-quality development. We are seeing a rapid growth in a high-technology sector and high-end manufacturing sectors, 8.9% growth and 9.7% growth. That is faster than the average growth index, industry growth index. With the upgradings of the industry and better consumption structures, we are seeing some of the growth in the newly emerging sectors. For example, in November, the smart watches, wearable equipment, and 3D printings is being consumed very rapidly. And for the EV charging battery bars, this sector is also an emerging sector. So we are also seeing the effective result about the central government's promotion policies. The private sector is achieving a 8.9% growth. The profits of the private sector rises 5.3%. High technology industry is being kept at a very rapid speed. That is 8.8% growth. 5.3% growth. All of this is reflecting that the whole complex of the industry is optimizing its structure. I think that we have a very good economic foundations for the development of the industry. First, we have all the big categories of industry which were listed by the United Nations. Our industry product tops the world. The company has a very good industry chain to support the different sectors to grow. And this is also laying out a very good foundations for the future development of the company to grow. The third part I want to talk about is innovation driven. This is going to give the new momentum to the rapid growth about the industry complex for the future development. The growth about the industry is going to be one important drivers of the Chinese economy. I think there are some of the structure mismatch between the industrial productions and the market demands. In the future, we are going to promote the highest quality development of the industry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much with Japan Economic Daily. Trade conflicts between China and the US is going to influence the performance of the Chinese national economic development. Which sector do you think we should pay attention to? China and the US is the largest trading partner in the world. Collaboration between the two sides is benefiting news for the both sides and also for the rest of the world. It is very clear that the two countries also possess very huge markets, and we have all kinds of the complementary industries. From the current agreement in the first phase, this is actually lowering down the uncertainties in the markets, boost the confidence in the markets. The promotions of the trade and economy is beneficial not only to China but also to US. We hope that in a sluggish global economic development, the two sides could respect each other, and promoted the negotiation between the two sides, cancel the tariffs step by step, and finally we can wholly eliminate all the imposing tariff. Thank you very much. Economic Daily. In November, the total consumption of the social consumable goods is achieving a 3.1%. Is it because of the Double 11 shopping festival? Are there any boosting factors for the consumption area? Thank you very much. There is a very rapid growth in November. That is 8% compared with October. Just as you mentioned, Double 11 shopping festival, especially for the online e-commerce platform, they are playing a very important drive. We have mentioned about the food product is actually seeing a 3.1%. That is 0.9% of the national GDP. Under the new consumption development trend, this is going to lead the development in the consumption sector. We should also see some of the new features. With the rapid growth of the economy, just as we mentioned, the cosmetic sector and also the entertainment and sporting wares is achieving 60%, 21%, and 80% growth. This is reflecting the upgradings about the general consumer structures. This is also reflecting the consumer's complex is shifting from a food-driven sector to the cosmetic and also the service-driven sector. According to our internal statistics, I think that for the service industries, they are achieving a double-digit growth. We are improving the traditional health qualities and for products like the cosmetics, it is actually reflecting an important drive for the consumption sector to the Chinese economy. There are 1.4 billion people in China, and among which 400 million to 500 million people belong to the middle class. This is a very massive, growing consumption group. The second point I want to make is that the incomes for the Chinese citizens is also increasing. According to the standard of the World Bank, Chinese income is among the medium and high levels of the national average income. We are forging ahead toward a high-income country. From January to November, the growth of the income is achieving 6.7%. For the third sector, we have a very stable employment with expanding social insurance. This is going to stabilize the expectations of the consumption. For the first 11 months, the total consumption is reaching around 1.3 trillion. The economic sector, the healthcare sectors, and the aged people caring sector is increasing. Our encouragement is very beneficial to the growth about the consumption reform about the thresholds of the R&D sectors and national encouragement of the entrepreneurship is also leading a rise in the consumption sector. From all of it, the consumption-driven economy is forging in China, and the growth is going to be sustainable. With Hong Kong Wenhua Daily. So my question is about investment. The investment towards infrastructure is slowing down. Recently, we have some news discussing about the Chinese economic growth should be kept around 6%. How do you view about this figure? Thank you very much about the question. The first question is about the investment, slowing down investment. The second part is about our expectations about the GDP growth. From the investment sector, from the January to November this year, there is a 5.2%, among which the investment in the manufacturing industry is creating a 5.4%, 5.2% for the real estate. So the growth is not very rapid, but we are seeing that the future Chinese investment is boosting all kinds of the potentials. From our current status quo, the whole nation is finished its industrialization process. With the industry develops into the medium and high-end sector, the e-commerce is going to play a ever more important role. If you look at the R&D investment in the manufacturing industry, R&D and designs investment, and also the investment in the e-commerce platform, both of the factors is achieving a double-digit growth. That is to say, we are optimizing the investment structure. We also have some of the infrastructure investment. The growth is not that high as you expected, but we are full of potentials. From the current figures, the average infrastructure inventories is only 20% to 30% of the world average. From the people's livelihood sectors, the healthcare sectors, and also the aged caring centers is in urgent demand for the new generations of the economic performance. The internet sector is boosted with all kinds of potentials in the railways and in the transportations. There are also large space for the investment. According to the arrangement of the CNTC Central Economic Meeting, we are going to see a better development about the investment. This is my answer to your first question. The second answer is about our expectations to the GDP growth next year. After 40 years of the rapid growth in China, we are shifting from a high economic development to a high quality economic development. We used to rely our economic growth based upon the national resources consumption. But currently, we are shifting the economic structures from high investment, high consumption to high quality and high efficiency. That is indicating the rapid economic growth is not going to appear as frequently as we used to be. The future growth, personally, I think that we are full of the spaces for the future development. The CPI is being stabilized. The income is on the rise. Ecological environment is being well preserved. So I think as long as we are meeting up with all of these requirements, whether the figure is higher than our expectation or lower than our expectations, these are all acceptable. With Xinhua News Agency, in November, the price of the pork is finally dropping down. But with the approaching of the Spring Festival, we actually anticipated there's a rise about the pork price. So how do you foresee the pork price? I think we are really very concerned about the price. From the November data, the CPI ratio is seeing a 4.5% growth. That is a very rapid growth. These are being influenced by the structural results. The major influencing sector is about the food price. So for November, the food price is seeing a 10% growth. The major driver is because of the pork price. The growth is about 1.1%. The growth in ratio is accounting for 8%, while the pork is seeing a 6%. With the rising of the pork price, there is a driving force for all the other different meat, including muttons and beefs. So with the rising of the pork, the relative ministries and institutions has launched a series of policies to tackle these issues. The State Council is launching a series of the policies to expand the productions about the porks and eliminate all kinds of the unreasonable measures. From the performance of the pork price in November, we think there is a drop down, and we think that we are also expanding the exports about the porks, and we are actually opening up our pork inventories to the market, attaching all kinds of the subsidies to the porks. From the future performance, the food price, because with the recoveries about the porks, the price is the high price range is going to continue for a short period of time. In the future, I think that we have a very good condition to stabilize, and the pork price this year is also a very high-risk year. The total consumption of the grains is actually seeing a 660 million tons. So we all know that the grains is one important factor supporting the CPI. With a growing production volumes of the grains, the CPI is going to be stabilized. The second sector I want to talk about is that the price about the pork is going to stabilize and dropping down. From other lively stocks, our general supply is very sufficient. From the performance of November, the fruits price and also the seafood price is declining. So I think that we have the preparations to stabilize the food price. From the CPI, the industry consumption in November is downwarding its price, while the servicing industry is a little bit upwarding its price. The supply is increasing. This stabilizing price, it can be expected from the future. Are there any other questions from the floor? So with that, we'd like to conclude today's news press release. Thank you very much for attending this meeting.